That's how Wagner comes into play. A lot of this stuff that you don't get in your textbook here, I keep in my back pocket, see, because I keep a shovel. I like history as much as I do music, see. Yeah, I'm sure you can tell that. But Bayreuth, Germany, Wagner, keep that in mind. Bayreuth, Germany. That's they got a picture of that in your textbook. I forget what page it is, but a picture of that opera house in your textbook. I want to move on because I've got classical period I want to touch bases on. I left you with Ben Franklin the other night, right, class? I left you with Franklin because one of our revolutionaries, and he has a scenario with the Baroque period. He's synonymous, rather, with the Baroque period because, see, that's the time period when the 13 American colony students, keep in mind, were coming into play, you see. And Franklin was a part of that, as we all know. We all know his patents. He had so many patents, and he was thought of as royalty in Europe. So were a lot of other revolutionaries I'm going to get to tonight that I didn't get to the other night. Franklin spent a lot of time in Europe. Well, why is that? Well, duh. One reason why, because everything was, that's why they call it the old country. See, we were kind of in the wilderness over here during that time period. I mean, I'm just being frank with you. We were in the wilderness. Franklin and these people, our revolutionaries, spent a long time in Europe. As a matter of fact, he became a French citizen, spoke fluent French, among other languages. And in France, he was treated like royalty, Franklin, because people over there already knew about the spectacles. They already knew about the stove. They already knew about the kite string that you knew about in grade school, where you put the key on the electricity, you know. And he had a newspaper students that were just like the New York Times today, back then, please. That he owned. Hello? So this guy was treated like royalty in Europe. Women adored him. Believe it or not. Most of my students had no idea about that. Ben Franklin, yes, he was. Big ladies, man. Yes. But don't think for a half second either that he didn't. Hello? He didn't know some of these? Please. That's the reason behind this that I talked about the other night, the glass harmonica. Because he was a guy, saw things and said, well, let me try that. And so he put together his own version almost of the forte piano, which was already around. The forte piano was the piano precursor to what we know as piano, okay? It was around. Now, it had a great dynamic range. That's what made it so popular during the late Baroque, early Classical. The forte piano, it had a great dynamic range over anything that was out there, especially the harpsichord, which was the keyboard of the period, okay? But it was very light. You heard it at the end of that, very light texture. So the forte piano came out because it was a little bit more potent in volume, and it had more of a dynamic range, okay? So that's what the forte piano is all about. A little bit more solid stability in quality of sound and a greater range, dynamic range, okay? That's the forte piano. So Franklin devised this instrument here and had it set up to where it had the foot pedals, just like your piano, but these pedals were attached to these metal rods that were connected to like glass cylinders of all different sizes. All right? And when you touch those pedals, those cylinders would rotate, okay? At a certain rate of speed, and he would dip his fingers in water. And he would touch them lightly. You know, you've seen that little people with those glasses full of, on these shows, you know. And they play these melodies with, you know, kind of the same setup. But the cylinders would rotate, and he would dip his fingers in water and touch them, and he got to where he mastered it, man, just like a piano, okay? And then he eventually got to where he would play duets with people like Patrick Henry. Give me liberty, let me there, Patrick Henry, you know, he was a violinist. Hello? Most non-music people have no inkling about this. But see, that's why you come to school, so you can get something you didn't know, take with you. Thomas Jefferson spent a lot of time in Paris also. Why? Well, Thomas Jefferson cherished his violin just like he did his prize racehorses. Because he built violins. But see, most non-music people had no idea about Jefferson in that regard. You see. But most musicians know about Jefferson. He, Franklin, Patrick Henry, George Washington, our first president, they would play duets and stuff. Yeah, at events. We're getting slowly but surely how music crossed the ocean now. You see, slowly but surely. I'm going to get you there. But I don't want to take you there too fast because we got some in-betweens yet before we get here. But you're getting now an idea. University of Virginia? Everybody's familiar with that university? One of the oldest in this country, right? Yeah, one of the oldest in this country. Based on what? Architecture, agriculture, fine arts. Thomas Jefferson started the University of Virginia class. People still trying to decipher Monticello because it's an architectural phenom. Architects are still looking at how things were done. That house, how it was designed, and yeah. But I like to throw a few things at you. I talked about who done, right? Mm-hmm. Huh?
Yes.
Okay, so you can talk to your families and tell them about who done now, right? Who's on the 25-cent piece class?
Washington.
Who's on the nickel? Duh.
Hold on, I have to pull it out like that.
Huh?
Is it Jefferson?
Yes. And who's on the 50-cent piece?
Franklin.
That's because that was his close friend. That's why. Well, yeah, but in the time that it was done, it was Franklin, okay? He brought him over here in 1785. Franklin brought Antoine Houdin to America in 1785 because, you remember I told you about Dark Ages? Well, see, over in France, I mean, hello. So Franklin brought him and said, come go with me to the plantation. I want you to get something set up. See, he was a French sculptor as well as a musician. Franklin knew this because he had done some things similar to this in Europe. You see? So he brought him to America. Now you know the rest of the story. You can speak intelligent to your children, man. Oh, that's why you come to school. Antoine Houdin. Jean-Antoine Houdin. Parlez-vous français? Oui, tu parles français un peu? C'est dommage. Pourquoi? French.
I got the first statement. Do you speak French? That's as far as I can get.
Well, musicians, like I told you, we do many languages when we come through a music program. Okay? Serious music program, because music terminology is in different languages. Okay? But that's why he brought him to America. Now, Mozart even composed music for this instrument class. He liked it so well. He composed music from this. And he definitely composed music for the forte piano because it was already in place. But when Franklin brought this instrument about, he put together some music for this particular instrument. Now, I didn't tell you about the well-tempered clavier. The well-tempered clavier is something that Bach devised. Why did he devise that? What was the well-tempered clavier? It was a musical setup to where he would use this to tune keyboard instruments. And it's still used today sometimes with people that do these pipe organs and stuff. Bach wrote what they call a well-tempered clavier. It's a musical system where keyboard people of that day used to tune their instruments. Okay, that's what the well-tempered clavier was about. It was a musical format that he used to tune organs and keyboard instruments. It was called a well-tempered clavier. That's what Bach brought. Okay, I've got you set up with all the Baroque people there. Now, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Who was this composer? You just saw